You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the pod. We're here today to give you our short and sweet review of the game against Crystal Palace. And we're going to be building you up for our preview of the up-and-coming game against Aston Villa back at home, which is going to be at Sunday, 2 p.m. kickoff, which is a very weird time for us because we haven't really had a Sunday game in many moons. But just help me to break this down and discuss this, we have Kev. How are you today, Kev?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's an unusual kickoff time, this one, isn't it? It's one of those moved for Sky fixtures, isn't it? Where certain ones get picked for certain times and yada, yada, yada. And yeah, it's all about getting more TV coverage, essentially. But what it does do is knacker things for certain fans. My parents are traveling up. They're having to travel up they're coming up Saturday, spending the weekend with us like they normally do. But normally they would go to the match on Saturday, stay with us Saturday night, and then leave on Sunday to travel back down south. Yeah. Instead, they're now having to come up Saturday and leave either after the match on Sunday or take a day off work for Monday to travel back. Same for Robin. It just doesn't take into consideration traveling home fans. And likewise for the Villa supporters, it's not like they're just popping up the road. All right, I get it. It's not like a Plymouth last season or I don't know, the fine tips of Scotland for a Europa match, but it's still not great, is it? 2:00 on a Sunday's
exactly
probably one of the worst kickoff times.
Yeah, I'm just glad it's not the new and improved 7:00 one, the one to try and throw on a Sunday. So I think there's going to be a couple of them this season, but hopefully it's not
kill
for
the
us.
Games off. It's going to kill your games off for school kids and stuff, isn't it? That
exactly
should be getting an early night ready for the next day. But mate, we could talk all day long about the rules and regulations in the Premier League and other divisions. We're not the only ones affected.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not going to be that team that like to whinge about times because we know certain teams do. Obviously, there's no Robin this evening due to ill health. We wish him the best. He's all right. He has reached out to myself and Kev on the WhatsApp group that we're in just to let us know he is fine. He is still breathing. He's just keeping me and Kev in the straight and narrow as usual, telling us what's what from his bed, nicely all tucked up while we're having to slog it out of work.
I think the poor lad would probably rather be at work given his week, but yeah, he's doing all right. He's not up for long periods of chatting and stuff like that at the minute. So yeah, I suppose it'll be me that have to go off on tangents instead.
Exactly, or keeping me correct.
Well, that's true.
So let's kick on straight away. Then obviously we'll talk about the Palace game. We'll just give a quick shout out from Robin's friend. As Robin mentioned on the last one, we kind of put him behind enemy lines in a so to speak when we shouldn't have. But
yeah, his mate
he got
Paul
in with his friend. It was nice.
Him quiet, I think.
Exactly, kept him quiet for once. He'll probably listen to this and then tell me off for telling him that.
Robin, sit on your hands for a minute. Yeah, absolutely.
But he did raise one thing that we wanted to say is a thank you to his friend that took him first of all, and in regards to Matete from Palace, taking a respectful measure to go around and shaking every player's, not just every player's hand. It was all the coaching staff for Sunderland as well. So that in itself speaks volumes to me. It's similar to Xhaka, what Xhaka does with the Sunderland lot. They'll shake hands with all the Palace fans, the players, and then this coaching staff. And then afterwards, we'll go around and make sure that Sunderland are doing the same thing. So it's one of those, isn't it? You've got certain players that'll show that high level caliber of respect for not just the opposition. It's also to go, you know what? I've been brought with respect in the game. I'm going to shake my hand, and vice versa. What was your take on that when Robin told us that news?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way. For me, that's how football should be. Players should respect the opposition. At the end of the day, we're in the same business. We're doing the same thing. We want the same thing. We all want to win. So, yeah, you look at the ugly scenes last night, Simeone kicking off on the touchline. Yeah, okay, he was probably getting a bit of grief from fans, but to react like he did, and then you see one of his coaching staff spitting at a player, that's what we don't want to see.
Mhm.
What we want to see is the respectful side of it, the shaking hands, and making the effort. I get you're not going to, go and shake every single player's hand after the game. It's not like that.
Yeah.
You'd still be shaking hands now, 4 days after the game. But yeah, it just shows to me that the level of almost like, I don't know, the human. Take away the footballer.
Mhm.
He's clearly been brought up right to respect people and
Yeah.
authority. Really, when you think about it, he's shaking hands with all the coaching staff and the managers. That's a power of
Yeah.
authority. Team. It's just for me. Yeah, it's the right way of doing business, and it's
Mhm.
you got to think for Mateta what he went through. What last year?
Yeah.
After that brutal tackle,
Mhm.
he could quite easily turn around and say, I'm going to come here, I'm going to do my job as a player for this team, and then I'm not going to do anything else. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
he's just a class above, and fair play.
Mhm. Indeed. So obviously we'll get into now with the game, so to speak, of that, because obviously we've covered that. In the game, it wasn't exactly a dull 0-0, as you said when you're predicting the 0-0. You're like, oh, I don't want it to be a dull game where you just effectively want to turn it off. For the neutrals watching, that game was pretty much, I would say, Palace dominated part of proceedings, which you would expect because they have got the caliber of player to do that. But like to me, if I was in neutral, that is a really good 0-0 to watch. You're watching one team go up the end, pummel the goalkeeper a little bit, and then 10 minutes later, you see the away team going up the other end, pummeling the goalkeeper and putting some decent like passes across and getting stuff like that. For the lack of trying, yes, to me, Roofs was 100% agreed the man of the match. But both keepers were equally busy. Defenses were both equally busy. As I said, it wasn't for lack of trying that nobody wanted to just see a 0-0 out.
Yeah, I mean, the pundits love XG this and stat this and all the rest of
Hmm.
that. When you look at it overall, the stats don't lie. We had no shots on target,
Hmm.
but yet the goalkeeper did have to intervene a couple of times to put the ball out of play. So
Yeah,
officially, we had no shots on target,
yeah.
but their goalkeeper did have to save the ball a couple of times. I think there was that one ball from uh, Adringa where it went sort of looked like it could have been dropping back into the top corner and he tipped over the bar.
Yeah.
But as far as the analytics are concerned, wasn't a shot at goal. Um, it was for me. It was like I said in the preview. It was a game where both teams want the other team to have the ball.
Hmm.
So for a little while, it was almost like a standoff of, well, you have it, no, you have it, and
Yeah.
neither team really wanted to have the ball. In the end, we managed to win that battle because actually Palace had more possession,
Yeah.
which is a really backwards thing because old school football, you want more possession to have more
Yeah.
chances. But when you look at it overall,
Hmm.
we gave Palace a real game to compete in
Yeah.
because they had to try and score. It wasn't one of
Hmm.
them where they scored and it was like, oh, well, that's them done. We actually made them work for the point, and they
Yeah.
probably felt that was 3 points dropped, even though they,
Hmm.
well, sorry, 2 points dropped. They
Yeah.
wanted 3 points. You listen to any Palace YouTuber or podcast, and all they say is that was 3 points we should have had. Every
Hmm.
prediction was we're going to get beat.
Yeah.
So for it to finish 0-0 should for us feel like a win.
Hmm.
You've gone to a very hostile ground. Selhurst Park
Yeah.
isn't an easy ground. A lot of
Yeah.
I say a lot of the older style stadiums are like that, where you're compacted in. The fans are on the touchline. It's designed to intimidate you. It's even the little
Yeah.
thing, where the players come out. Palace is an old school ground where the home team come out of the tunnel, the away team come out of a little corridor path side alley. It's all the little mind games, these sort of things that
Yeah.
old grounds have. It's one of
Hmm.
the only grounds still to have a corner flag entry. I think
Yeah.
there's Craven Cottage, there's them, and Old Trafford, I believe. Other than that, there's not many of them left
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I was going to say
It's
Old Trafford's on the corners.
still on the
Yeah.
corner, isn't it?
It's very bizarre, especially when you go.
It's not just because of the size of their ground, but we'll get to them in a few weeks' time. Um, Honestly, it's mental. But no, I think for us, it is a good result to leave there with a point.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, obviously, there's no press conference yet. We came out of
Yeah.
it unscathed. We've not lost any players. No one hobbled off. And sometimes those are the results you want. You want a draw or a win, no injuries,
Yeah.
and move on. And the nice thing is
Mhm.
we've had a good break before we face Villa, because
Yeah.
that's the one good thing, I suppose, about leaving the energy drink cup. We didn't have to play on Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the one thing I wanted to take into consideration. Obviously, the way we defended. I'm not going to deny we defended with our lives effectively. One of the big ones for me was the save by Roos, and then it came back out, and Alderete stuck his foot out, and he went off Alderete over the bar. Don't get me wrong, another day that possibly would have been worse, and it could have tipped it into the back of the net, but just everything to me in that game looked assured defensively. We didn't look, say, I hate to say it, but of a yesteryear where that kind of pressure, we would have went, right, we've soaked it up for 50, 60 minutes, give up. You know what? You pressured us too much. There's a goal. It's in that. I don't want to sound obviously that playing horribleness to us, but that's the way it used to be. We used to give up far too easily in these types of games when we've done so well for a solid, say, 45, 60 minutes. We then try and push on, but we forget the basics then at the back, leaving us exposed. The one thing I said to you, and you saw the reaction, I did rattle a couple of Palace fans by my own comments by saying they spend more time on the ground than they actually did playing football. But that to me is the truth, because don't get me wrong, first half we were trying to win fouls everywhere we could just because we needed the advantage and try and push on. But when we stood our ground getting into the game, when Xhaka got hold of the lads, went, right, come on, play properly now. We know what we need. We're in for a battle. We start putting our tackles in. They start lying on the ground going, ref, he's hurt my arm. Ref, he's hurt my leg. And it's like, get up off the floor and play football. You are not at school to lie on the floor. And I was you know me, I'm an ex-defender. You know what goes through my head. The first thing I'm just going, get me on that pitch and I'll go through someone. That's then a foul.
Yeah, look, it's a hard one, isn't it? When you look at the dark arts of football, essentially that's what some of this was.
Yeah.
Mateta is very good at drawing fouls. He's got long arms, long legs, and he can stick his leg in front of a player and draw a foul very easily.
Yeah.
What we had on our side was a referee that knew that's what he was going to be doing. So
Yeah.
on a couple of occasions, it was no, you're not having it. Get up, move on. What he didn't do was actually discipline the player for that sort of behaviour. But
Hmm.
we don't want a game ruined by silly cards. I've always said that. I
Exactly.
would rather it played on and deal with the ones that need dealing with, not the petulance.
Yeah.
For me, it's why, diving is a bad thing. But if nothing's given and the player just looks stupid for doing it, have a word, move on. Silly yellow cards for diving, if it's not given as a foul, shouldn't happen. Um,
Mhm.
but for me, it was daft things like um, edge of the box. He could play a ball and they'd have
Mhm.
probably had a better chance than what they did. But instead, he rolls about,
Yeah.
doesn't get the foul. That's where you need to use your head.
Mhm.
Why try and gain a foul when actually you could have played a ball and done something better with it?
Yeah. I think it was the
We've
last
done it
five
ourselves as
minutes,
well, though.
wasn't it? When I think it was the last 5 minutes, they tried to buy the pen, and the ref was just like, you could see just by watching, you could see the ref's eyes going, "What are you doing?"
That was the one where one of their players acted as if Wilson had dragged a boot down his thigh, and then
Yeah,
VAR looked at it and went, he hasn't touched him.
yeah,
I get it, these things happen, but yeah, the shouts for pen from their fans was non-stop at that point.
yeah.
Um, for me, I think we just looked assured. The bit I wanted them to deal with was where Roofs parries the ball and then
Hmm.
catches it again,
Yeah,
and then Pina runs into him. So,
yeah,
all right, he touches him gently, but Roofs
yeah,
then does go down as if he's been like barged.
yeah.
What Pina then does for me, which should be dealt with, is he then goes and stands over Roofs and clearly shouts something at him. And I'm
Mm.
gonna hazard a guess it wasn't "you're having a good game, mate."
Yeah,
That's the sort of thing that for me should be dealt with because all that is Pina acting in an aggressive manner towards an
mm,
opposition player.
yeah,
But the referee waves it on, tells Roofs to get up, tells Pina to walk away.
yeah.
Pina was frustrated that he didn't get anything out of this game. He missed an
Hmm.
absolute sitter early on, and all the time after that, he was frustrated because it was his debut and he did nothing.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
look, we could rant
The
all
other
day
thing with
about
that as
silly
well.
things. It was a
Yeah.
0-0. There's probably not much more to cover about the fact that Roofs was unreal and probably the best shot stopper that weekend.
I was going to say the only thing I'll touch on there, lastly, in regards to Roofs, was he fell foul of the yellow card offence of holding the ball for too long. But did you realise for holding the ball too long, he didn't give the corner as well?
So
Because
what
Roof
he
got
got
caught twice on it.
what he got the yellow card for was time wasting.
Yeah.
So what it was, we got a free kick. I think it was for an offside. And
Hmm.
what Roofs did 3 times was move the ball to say, "Is this the right spot, ref?" And the ref went,
Yeah,
"Take
exactly.
the
Yeah.
kick." Then he moved it back and went, "Is this right, ref?" And the ref went, "Just take the kick." And then he did it a third time. And the ref went, "Right, you're taking the Mickey. There's your yellow card."
Yeah.
Because yeah, you're right. If he holds it for too long, then it's a corner,
Yeah.
which thankfully we haven't fallen foul to. I think there's only
Yeah.
one so far that has, which was Trafford, I believe, a few weeks back.
Yeah, yeah, it was Trafford. Yeah, he didn't because obviously the way he plays, he tries to play quick, but obviously don't get me wrong, credit like harshly on him. The defenders did surround him to try and stop him doing that quick throw. So it's going to be one of them things. If an attacker presses you too long, it is going to then foul for that. But I think the way Roos deals with things like that, he does it quite sensibly. He'll hold it for say 2, 3, drop, bang, gone. And that's why the Robin will probably sing his praises for like how calm and collected he is once again.
Another level.
Um, yeah, 100%. Let's talk Villa. Obviously, obviously that's the big game that we've got coming up. As we mentioned, 2 o'clock back at home, so it's going to be nice to have the crowd again with us. I know they follow us high and wide everywhere. This is by no means feat an easy game. Yes, I know Villa haven't had the best starts to this season. I have seen a lot of Villa fans saying I've seen a mixed divide of some saying we want Emery out, some of them saying, well, if we get Emery out, who do you get better than Unai Emery at this point? So it's one of those things. They're in a rock and a hard place. They need a win to obviously effectively keep Emery's job because we've seen how hard this sport is becoming. Because obviously I can't remember who it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. So he had three 3 weeks in the job and he's been sacked. Obviously, most recently, um, Mike Dodds has lost his job after 7 months, but that's 7 months. And then even more recent than that, we know Sir Wilder's back at the helm at Sheffield United after them having 5 games on the bounce of defeat. Hopefully, it may continue under Wilder, but that's
Let's not
my
talk about the
personal grudge against
championship.
Wilder. Exactly. Let's not have
We're
my
not
grudge
there.
about Wilder
Move
come out.
on. Before
But
Robin
yeah,
gets
so
before Robin logs on and tells you to move on.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, back to Villa then. As I said, it's going to be a difficult game. We know this. They have got the people there. They've got like Tielemans,
Who's injured.
who's a threat. Oh, did it get announced that he's injured? Did he? Do
Yeah.
apologise. I've not been keeping privy of them. So I'll let you, because obviously you've clearly got the injury report there, Kev.
Yeah,
Go
so
for it.
Tielemans is injured and it looks doubtful for this week. It'll be our luck that it'll be a miracle return. Um, and that's pretty much the crux of it. In
Mhm.
terms of their players. Um, Garcia, I don't think he's featured for them yet. You've got Lindelof, which they picked up on a free
Mhm.
from Man United. But yeah, as far as I know, Tielemans was the one I've been keeping an eye on because obviously he is a threat. You are absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
What we, from what I've seen from Villa fans, is they're looking forward to this game because
Mhm.
it's Sunderland back in the Premier League, and Villa and us seem to have a good relationship
Mhm.
because I think
True.
everyone hates Newcastle. Um,
Mhm.
but they need the wins. This is
Yeah.
the big thing for us: is we need to realize that teams like this are not going to want to come to Sunderland and lose.
Yeah.
They're currently sitting 19th. They're sandwiched between West Ham and Wolves, three
Yeah.
teams that have all been mentioned in and amongst the could be in trouble this year.
Yeah.
What we need to try and do is keep the likes of Watkins quiet and Morgan Rogers because they are probably there or thereabouts Villa's best players.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously they've got Martinez in goal, who at the weekend had an absolute blinder of a match, and obviously only 2 weeks ago was destined to be leaving for Man United, and then that fell through. So he's going to be wanting to prove himself for the rest of the season, so that teams look at him in the window and deals don't fall through. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, Villa are a team that we can't write them off. Their league position is absolutely false. They've had a bad start to the season for no, well, I would say for no fault of their own, but obviously they drew 0-0 against the unwashed. They got beat 1-0 narrowly by Brentford. Obviously, Palace they got turned over by. So if we take anything from this,
Mhm.
it's we've just drawn 0-0 against Palace, who beat Villa 3-0.
Yeah.
But you can't judge it. Every team plays differently. Home form and
Exactly.
away form are very different things. And obviously, then the last game they played was in the league against Everton, which was a 0-0 stalemate. Villa will be disappointed if they come to the Stadium of Light and draw. They'll be even more
Yeah.
frustrated if they lose.
Mhm.
But this is the whole thing we need to drive on this season is making the Stadium of Light a fortress.
Yeah.
We need to make it ugly
Mhm.
and loud.
Yeah.
If a player can't if the players can't hear each other, that's going to be a home advantage.
Mhm.
Obviously we're both NFL fans. That's a big thing. If
Yeah.
they can't hear it on the pitch, they can't give each other instructions and talk to each other. Perfect.
Exactly.
Because we know what our game plan is. We're at home. We should be comfortable at home. They need to come to us. But
Mhm.
it's a tough one because, like I say, Villa should not be sitting 19th. That
Yeah.
place realistically at the moment should be
Mhm.
Leeds, Burnley, Brentford. They're the three really that should be in swapping with
Yeah.
Villa right now.
Yeah. Talking of what you said there about making the Stadium a light fortress, if you look at the likes of, I'm not going to use West Ham because obviously the way when Bowen got interviewed after that game and was like, it was never a 3-0 scoreline. Yep. Okay, Bowen, were you watching the same game or playing the same game? Yeah. Okay. You crack on, love. The one thing for me was Brentford. A lot of the Brentford fans and a lot of the Brentford players actually came out and went, we didn't expect that. We went 1-0 up. We should have seen that game through at
Yeah,
1-0. And a lot of their fans on socials, podcasts, and things like that, from what I've heard, have went, what happened? Like that, and I would love to actually sit down and talk to them to actually get a proper opinion on what happened on that day, because I think generally we we shocked Brentford. I think that was the big thing, and that's why I agree with you about this whole fortress thing for the Stadium of Light. We can sing from minute 0 to minute 90, whatever, make it loud, make it noisy. And I think it is starting to impact certain teams because like they're trying to play their game And at the same token, they're like, we can't play our game, as you said, similar to the NFL. When the crowd gets to the opposition, and you're your quarterback trying to give your orders to, say, we all know I'm the unfortunate Cowboy fan, but say it's Dak to say CD, if he can't give the order correct,
They go wrong.
he's not going to catch the ball.
Yeah,
And
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 that's what it is.
that's the thing for me.
Yeah, that's what it's
Um,
all about, isn't it? It's all about giving us a home advantage.
yeah. My big thing for you then for this weekend, I would have asked Robin as well, but obviously Robin's not here, is who's going to lead the line this weekend? Obviously, it was nice to see Regis, in his words, reward Wilson for the 3 goals he's got so far this season by his starting position. Don't get me wrong, I think possibly it was a bit of a hard game for him to come and play against Palace because the balls didn't fall to his feet as it should, as normal. Mayenda's had a decent run in so far. He's got 2 goals, obviously, for the season. And then you've got Robbie. And when Robbie came on against Palace, to me, that guy's just a unit. I was like, oh, I know I've seen these pictures. I've seen that he's a big lad, but seeing him on the big screen, he is a big lad. And if we could swear on here with us not being a family pod, I would. That's how big he is. Not as big as Dan Bollard, of course. Um, but would you start him? Give him a chance?
No, I would probably go back to Mayenda. I only think Mayenda didn't really feature against Palace because he'd been away with Spain. I
Yeah,
genuinely think it was let's give him a rest.
yeah,
Robbie's probably at the point where it was like, let's give him some minutes, although he's not ready.
yeah.
And that's what we ended up working with. Yeah, I don't think there was anything in terms of, Mayenda's not ready or there's an issue, there's a knock,
Yeah.
there's an injury. I genuinely think it was just you've only just come back from international against this team. Don't worry. Whereas I think against Villa, he'll probably start Mayenda, and then you'll probably find Robbie gets brought on and potentially Wilson gets used on the wing
Yeah.
because he has said that using Isidore on the left wing is an option, and Mayenda
Yeah.
can also do that for us as well. But yeah, I think realistically, Mayenda starts, Robbie comes in as a second. You never know. Regis might even go for a two up top. He has said he will do that at some point, but
Mhm.
when he feels it's right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The
But
guy is a
it's going to be an
turbo
interesting.
nerd. He will have watched every single minute of preseason and every game Villa have played
Yeah.
to work out the best way to go at them, really.
Indeed. As far as I'm aware, obviously, I know you said that earlier, presser hasn't been released yet, but as far as I'm aware, Ballard should be back. So that's a good sign. Questions are, will he get straight back in? And I'm not going to lie, I don't think so. Mukiele has upped his game and shown why he deserves that position. Would be nice to see Ballard and Alderete back together. Don't get me wrong, because I think them two are two big, strong lads, and it would make sense. Or do you try possibly a Mukiele and a Ballard, and then bring on Alderete when if needed again? Personally, I think Alderete is set in stone as a starting centre back for me personally. You know my opinion on him already of how much I rant and rave about him.
Yeah, I mean
And then
the way
Enzo,
they looked at it was Alderete was going to be the backup to Ballard, and I genuinely
yeah,
think he's probably proven in the last 2 3 games that he's a starter, not a backup. And for me,
exactly,
Ballard
yeah.
might now be the backup,
hmm
but
But we'll see.
exactly. I mean,
And then
look,
obviously
you haven't
Enzo.
mentioned. No, 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 mate. The most important player in the world is back on the training grass.
I'm not bothered about that one.
No,
I'm more
Luke
bothered
O'Nien
about
is back on
Enzo.
the grass. I mean, Mister Sunderland is back, so hopefully he'll feature on the bench,
Yeah, I was
and
going to
maybe
say
as a
I've got a
water boy.
feeling. Yeah, I've got a feeling with Luke. I think he will get some minutes this season, not lots of minutes. Don't get me wrong. I think he will surpass, obviously, the record of the most caps on the play. It's a given. He's got to take that record at some point, just the way he is. But yeah, back to who I want to see back on the pitch is Enzo Lefebvre. Robin's probably going to listen to this and be like, oh, for God's sake, he's obsessed. But yeah, Enzo's due back as well, potentially this week. And for me, based on his last performance, get him in that team straight away for me and give him that freedom. That freedom that he had prior was telling of how well he did against Brentford. Everything effectively went through him. And I think you alluded to it at the time. Every single time Roofs had the ball, Roofs was looking, where's Enzo? Where is he on the pitch? Bing, there he is, got him. Enzo then played the ball off to Xhaka, Adrenga, whoever. And I think that suited the way he plays, and it could be vital if he is back and against a very hard Villa team. I'm not too lax lyrical about him because I'll get called a fangirl.
I mean, you are, but no, you're absolutely right. Realistically, that's probably the lineup he goes for against Villa. You go, obviously,
Mhm.
I don't know why we're even going to mention it. Roof starts, obviously. Hume, yeah,
Would
Hume,
have thought.
yeah, Mukiele, Aldrete, Rionildo. That's your back line. That's pretty much at
Yeah,
the moment. Why wouldn't it be that starting?
exactly. Yeah,
Then obviously Diarra, Xhaka, Siddiqui in the middle. That is again, why would you change what's working? I
exactly.
can't see Luke displacing Xhaka. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
Just a smidge.
And then realistically, your wingers, it's going to be Talby because he seems to have become the default, unless we give the new lad a try. But
Feel right.
it's going to be one's going to be the starter, one's going to be your sub. For me, I
Yeah,
think Talby starts, Traore comes on as the sub, a bit like Patty
yeah.
Roberts was doing before he left. And then
Mhm.
that means putting Enzo on the wing, which drives fans absolutely mad because
Mhm.
people prefer seeing him in the middle. But against Brentford, he was on the wing, and obviously
And
then
he played a
Mayenda in the
blinder.
middle.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of
Lefay's got to
what
be
I'm
the
gonna
most frustrating player in the world for me because we want him in the middle, but he plays so well on the wing that
yeah.
you need him in both. But anyway, your turn.
I'm gonna throw a curveball at you with the Talbi Traore situation, and then we'll start wrapping up. So Traore, former Villa player, he knows how Villa play. He knows the mind games of how they would go. I know he wasn't under Emery, but he still knows a lot of their ethos and how they probably still. He's probably kept an eye on them after he parted ways, so he has done that. Would you say that's something that Regis will play into, or would you say that's similar to what you were saying there before? Start Talby, he's got the fresh young legs, he's only a young lad, give him about 60, 70 minutes. And then when you need Traore to step up, you've got Traore to come in, who's got a little bit of flair about him. He's not the fastest, but he knows how to still whip a ball in. Obviously, he's a partner of Robbie's, so them two will know how to find each other in the run, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think this lad hasn't played for Villa for a couple of years. I know he was their
Mhm.
player, but he was out on loan, wasn't he, for a while?
Yeah.
Um, so for me, I think he is. I think he's going to be the substitute. I think you're going to start with Talby, and then you're going to bring him on in the probably the 70th. He's not going to be as clued up with how Emery plays
Yeah, of
because he
course.
didn't play under him.
Yeah.
It's a bit different when a player's left this like last. I don't know, left in the window just now, but played
Mhm.
last season under the manager. That's different. But yeah, for me, I think you've got to give kind of the respect to Talby. He's proven he's getting there. There's
Mhm.
still
Mhm.
finishing needs doing. Like, look, he's not perfect. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of fans online saying, "Well, what's he currently offering? I don't see the player we think we've got."
Mhm.
It takes games for that to happen. Look at Ahmad when he was with us a few seasons back. He was not great for about 4 or 5 games, and then it just
Yeah.
clicked. And that's what we need with Talby. We need that moment when
Mhm.
it just clicks. And when that happens, that's when we'll see the Club Bruges player that we signed.
Yeah.
But
Agreed. And I think we've pretty much covered all things. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers out to Davy. Uh,
yeah,
bless him. He sadly passed away during this week, and I know they're doing a moment of applause during the match. So obviously, our thoughts and prayers to his family. If people don't know who he is the guy that did the lovely thing on BBC Radio Newcastle of saying, "Oh well, let's get carried away, man." I think that's going to be synonymous with
Yeah.
everyone from now on. So yeah, big shout out to him and his family. But other than that, I think that's about it. Kev, you got any other things I missed out?
No, other than predictions, mate. What's your scoreline?
My scoreline's going to be a 2-1.
2-1. Nice.
I think we've got enough about us to get the goals. I think it is going to be a tight game. Yeah, 2-1.
I've got a 1-0, a nervy 1-0 in me here. I just don't think,
Oh,
as much as I would love it to be a 3-0 drumming, I just think
yeah.
Villa are going to try and stop the leaking. And obviously they scored
Hmm.
the other night, so they'll have a little bit of confidence about them that they can actually put the ball in the back of the net. Um,
Yeah,
I just don't want us to be their confidence finder. So
yeah,
we need the shot out really for Roofs. If we can keep a clean sheet, that'll do us the world of good. And I just would like to see us look. I just want us to keep winning at home. I think if we can keep doing that, that's going to reassure a lot of fans that this might be okay. But yeah,
hmm
I've just got in the bottom of my stomach, mate. I've just got a horrible 1-0 last 10 minutes of just oh moments, but we'll be all right.
I got you. I got you. I don't like the 1-0 scoreline, especially when it's against Villa, because it reminds me of that lovely rainy afternoon long time ago on New Year's Day when we played them, and that goal was clearly offside, but that's for a different day.
That's what VAR's for now, mate. That's what VAR's for.
Exactly. But no, thanks very much for joining me, mate. It means a lot.
Yeah, pleasure, mate.
Nice one. And obviously, when Robin catches us back, we'll just rinse him a bit for taking time off the pod because I've never done that before. Uh, but no, as ever, everyone, thanks for listening, and it does mean a lot. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe since I got wrong the last time for not saying that. And as ever, everyone, we'll see you on the next one.